Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I see I got cut off. So as I was saying, I kind of recap. So basically, as you see the video right here, exposing Sara Seti, young Pharaoh, and Walter Williams for stating that the Roman Catholic Empire invented Islam. Actually, I would say young Pharaoh and Sara Seti. I'm not too sure Walter Williams actually espoused that idea. I believe he said some Jews created that. But as I was saying before, so the first one will be exposing the issue about the Roman Catholic Empire is if they created Islam. Then after this, I'll be doing the exposure of Seti and Walter Williams that where they claim that Serapis was invented by the Greeks. And I will be proving that Serapis was not invented by the Greeks, that Serapis was actually a native Egyptian practice and belief before the Greeks even got there. We'll be going into a whole lot of stuff, just as I had promised before my last two videos back. Then the video after that, I will be dealing with is Allah before Allah and exactly what it is. One thing I want you to understand is what you have to understand about most of these guys when they do these works. They always rely on Christian evangelists. Okay. One tactic that they will use is that they'll copy, literally copy every single thing that the person said, right? Come to the black community, pass it off as some new idea, throw some little couple different tweaks to it. Or what they'll do is they'll get the references from those people, go look at the references, and then come back out with the stuff as if they invented, okay, the ideas that which they're coming out with. Okay. So I'm going to be doing those, and I'm about to get to this one. Now, what I was saying before this got cut off was that one thing we have about the Allah and Allah thing. One thing we have to understand about that real quick is that there's a lot of twisting up going on. And I'm going to tell you about culture and traditions and words. See, you can have the same word from the same language family, but that word, when that word is used, or them words are utilized in different regions, okay, those words develop in a different manner according to the region that they are in. Okay. So for example, the Allah, if a person pronounces the general word Allah or the general word Allah, first of all, you have to ask that person or that culture, who are you identifying as Allah? What is the other name? Because see, Allah and Allah are titles. They're title names. So then you have to ask, what is the name after that? For example, at one point in time, one culture might have identified Allah or El or Ilu, whichever way you want to say it, as Baal. Okay. Or Hubal. Right. And then another cultural group may identify El or Allah as Aphrodite or, Helena or whatever you want to call the name after that. Okay. In this instance, Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam called Allah Ar-Rahman. Okay. So Allah Ar-Rahman is different from Allah Hubal. So people have to realize, you know what I'm saying, the trickery and the deception that's going on, right? But we're going to get into that. That's not for this right now. I just want to get at just that little bit so that you'll know not to get caught up in the trickery and the deception and the lies. Okay. Now, as far as the Roman Empire, I'm going to turn the light off because I'm using the other phone. My other stuff is not up. There's been a lot of things going on. So I'm going to go ahead, turn the light off, and then I'll focus it on, this subject. Okay. And I'm going to show you that this is not an original idea. Okay. That young Pharaoh, that Sara Seti, that, and maybe even Walter Williams. I'm not too sure if he said that. But usually that's the works that they rely upon lately. Okay. As far as a time frame. But I'm going to show you that it's not even their idea. They didn't even come up with it. They always use European sources, okay, and try to pass it off as if they said it. So I'm going to tell you who invented it. And then I'm going to walk you through and show you that it's impossible that the Roman Catholic Church invented Islam. I'm going to say one more thing to that, and then I'm going to get to it. I'm going to give you the major one reason why. One, Islam, out of all of the spirituality of the world, when they speak of Allah, they say Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim, Al-Qudus, As-Salam. But besides that, they have a concept that's unique. That is, the deity has no son. The deity has no father. The deity has no mother. The deity has no wife. So this Allah we're talking about doesn't have a wife. Okay. So this is a different deity. Okay. That's why there was a conflict in early Islam among the tribes. So we're going to get, and so the main point I'm making is that every other spiritual system, whether it be Christianity, whether it be Judaism, whether it be other systems you want to identify as just African, although I believe all of it is African, but that's a difference of opinion on that. Their deities or no deities has some type of father, mother, son, daughters. You see what I'm saying? So this is why, that's one main reason why there is no way that the Roman Catholic Church would create a group, a certain belief that is completely opposite, put it among wild people, thinking that they would coincide with them in their war so that they could take Jerusalem. That's just illogic. No politicians and military geniuses would do something like that, such as how the Romans were. They just wouldn't do something like that. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this off, and I'm going to get to this real quick. All right. Go ahead and turn this. I hope I don't lose connection like I did last time. Is that right? Okay. So hope you see that. All right. So this is the person, Alberto Rivera. You see that? He was anti-Catholic, so that lets you know automatically what his aim was. Okay, he was hold on. No, they ain't starting to do that again. Can't have that. Okay. So he was a fundamentalist Christian. Okay. Let's go look. Anti-Catholic religious activist who is a source of many of the conspiracy theories about the Vatican espoused by fundamentalist Christian author Jack Chick. Jack Chick. All right. Let's go through his biography before I get on with this. Okay. Chick promised to promote Rivera's claim. Even after he died, Rivera claimed to have been a Jesuit before becoming a fundamentalist Protestant. Now, we know the Protestants and the Catholics do not get along. Okay? So it says, in many of the stories Chick published about Rivera involved Jesuit conspiracies. Let's see. Okay, Islam and Nazism, communism. That was a combination he used. Let's see. Dang, there you go. Allegations that the Catholic Church created Islam. Rivera also alleged that Muhammad was manipulated by the Catholic Church to create Islam and destroy the Jews and other groups of Christians. Rivera did not explain how the church managed to accomplish this. He alleged that Muhammad's first wife, Khadijah, was actually a Catholic nun. I can tell you right now, that's false. Okay? But we're going to go ahead and she supposedly was a Catholic nun in an Arabian monastery who was told by the bishop to marry him. Now I would like a primary source on that, not just his allegations, right? Because that's some inside information right there. Bishop to marry him and sow the seeds of what to become Islam. He again offered no proof of this assertion. Rivera also alleged the Vatican staged an apparition of Fatima, named after Fatima, the daughter of Muhammad, to cozy up to Muslims. He further claims that it also staged Okay. It's also staged in 1981. All right. So that's going on to something else. All right. So let me go ahead and go to get into my thing. So we see this is the man that invented that story that the Roman Catholic Church is the one that created Islam. Okay. He was a Protestant, Christian, Spanish dude. Okay. Resident place, Tulsa, Oklahoma. Anti-Catholic religious activist. Okay. All right. Let's see what else we got here. So let's get to it. Hold on a second. All right. This is what Rivera claimed. Alberto Rivera that we just saw. He claimed that this was the mission. Hold on. Make sure y'all can hear me. He claimed that this was the mission that the Pope gave Muhammad. Eliminate the Jews and Christians, true believers, which they call infidels. Protect Augustine monks. I want you to remember this. Protect Augustine monks and Roman Catholics. Man, I know you ain't gonna start doing that. I'll just hold this back. Protect Augustine monks and Catholics. Conquer Jerusalem for his holiness. So that's the three things that Muhammad's supposed to do. These commands, for one thing. Well, this person said, okay, that's true. These commands, for one thing, cannot be found in any primary account whatsoever. What is primary account? We need to know this if we are going to understand the nature of our inquiry when trying to reach an historical conclusion or make a historical observation. One must focus first on one type of evidence, first-hand accounts or primary sources. But I'm going to show you something real quick. I'm going to skip this. Let me skip this real quick. Okay, I'm going to focus on this verse real quick of the Quran. Because this will show you clearly could not have been. Now you guys have heard this. Fight against such of those who in the Quran, it says, fight against such as those who have been given scripture and believe not in Allah nor the last day, and forbid not that which Allah has forbidden by his messenger, and follow not the religion of truth until they pay the tribute or jizya, readily being brought low or humble. Okay. So here's a full verse. Fight against those who have been given the scripture, who believe not in Allah nor the last day, forbid not that which Allah hath forbidden by Allah's messenger, and follow not the religion of truth or way of life of truth. The Arabic word right there is deen, actually. It's not religion, but it's deen, way of life. Until they pay the tribute, readily being brought low. And the Jews say Ezra is the son of Allah, and the Christians say the Messiah is the son of Allah. That is their saying with their mouths. They but imitate the saying of those who disbelieve of old. Now, those who disbelieve of old, you guys know, is those who, any other group that said God has a son, God has a daughter, God has a wife, God has a father, any of that is saying that these Jews and these Christians are imitating them. Okay. And it says Allah himself fights against them. How perverse are they? They have taken as lords besides Allah, their rabbis. So that means rabbinic Judaism, because there's different forms of Judaism. But here's specific. This is rabbinic Judaism. Okay. So they have taken as their lords besides Allah, their rabbis and their monks. I want you to focus on this, because the thing is being told to us is that the Roman Catholic Church invented Islam. Okay. And so that key word right there, their monks, is real important, because the Roman Catholic Church has monks. It was supposedly monks that taught Prophet Muhammad. The Pope, some people say the monks taught Prophet Muhammad. Some people say it was the Pope himself. Okay. But they ain't giving us no primary evidence. They just going off of Rivera's, statement. Okay. So it says rabbis and their monks. And it says, and the Messiah, son of Mary, when they were bidden to worship only one God, there is no God except him, be glorified from all that they ascribe as partner. Okay. Now, draw it up right here. The existence of the word monks in this verse signifies it is referring to Catholics. So this verse actually is telling the Muslims to fight Catholics. Okay? And you'll understand why in a second. And I will also show you, if I get time, to show you that there is no reason why the Roman Catholic Church had to make Muhammad into a Catholic stooge. And the reason why it didn't have to is because the Roman Empire already had certain different Arab tribes called the Ghassanids who were Catholic Arabs already. They were already there. And as a matter of fact, this verse was revealed because Muhammad sent an ambassador to the Roman Catholic Church, right? And their Arabs, because those Catholic Arabs was actually causing a problem there. And so those Catholic Arabs ended up beheading one of Muhammad's ambassadors. So this verse was revealed. Okay? About fighting the Catholics, which is the Byzantine Empire. So this verse is signifying, referring to Catholics, both Eastern and Western. How do we know this? Let us look at the interpretation of this verse by Abu Bakr, who became the leader at that time after Muhammad, and how he came out and he went against the Catholics, the Byzantine Empire. And this is what he said. You will meet people who have set themselves apart in hermitages. Leave them to accomplish the purpose for which they have done this. So that's one type of Christian. Leave them alone. Right? Then it says, you will meet people who have shaved the crowns of their heads, leaving a band of hair around it. Strike them with the sword. Now, it says, those who have their hair shaven to shape of a crown can only be referring to Catholic monks. Catholic monks. For the tradition behind this lifestyle symbolizes the crown of glory given to the martyrs, and crowns of thorns placed on Christ's head is purely a Catholic origin. Okay? So it was not referring to all Christians like people be trying to interpret it. Okay? It was specifically referring to Catholics. Now I'm going to go somewhere to show you something. I'm going to show you that is exactly what that is. Here you go. That's the image. Okay? Those are Catholic monks. They have the thing around their head. Okay? That's called the crown of glory. They shave, and right there you see where it says Roman tonsure. Okay? Is the practice of cutting or shaving some of or all of the hair of the scalp a sign of religious devotion or humility. The term originates from the Latin word tonsura, meaning clipping and sharing. Okay? So clearly Islam was not created by the Roman Catholic Church, because as soon as, they killed an ambassador. Now, Prophet Muhammad would not have to send an ambassador to them, to the Roman Catholic Arabs that was there, an ambassador to sue for peace. Okay? If he was created as a Roman Catholic stooge. So that's just ridiculousness. Okay? That's just ridiculous. And it was a rumor of a reverer where he said that. And it's actually a new rumor. Okay? It's a fallacy. It's not true at all whatsoever. But this is one of the things that are being pushed by Christian evangelists who are Protestants, because they're trying to get at the Catholics, and they say, hey, why don't we get at Islam too? We get 2 for 1. If we can link them like this, then that's what it is. Another thing I want to address, I'm going to show you some more stuff about that. Another thing I want to address is the domes, because I heard today Seti say something about domes. How did the Muslims get the domes? Well, firstly, he's partially right. Muslims used to worship in a flat place, sometimes in tents. Sometimes they did have little huts if they were up in Yemen, which is southern Arabia. In Yemen, they had huts which are around it. So, but the first architecture that was built was when the Muslims got to Jerusalem, and they built the Dome of the Rock. Okay, that was the first overshape, and really it was when they finished fighting the Catholics. These right here, as you just read, strike them. Okay, when they fought them, you gotta remember, there was cathedrals. So when the Muslims finally won against them, they started worshiping in the cathedrals. They converted the cathedrals into a masjid. And then later on, they started putting up minarets, because Muslims before that used to just climb up in trees and call the call to prayer. They didn't have minarets. Okay. So this has nothing to do. It has nothing to do. Having domes and minarets has nothing to do that the Catholic Church just gave it to the Muslims. Okay. That's just a sheer lie. Okay. And all a person had to do was do their research. When you do your research, what you do is you find out the position, and then you go look at the opposite position of what somebody else may have said, and you compare the two. And that's not usually what these guys are doing. What they're doing is they're getting references, they're getting resources from anti-Islamists, European anti-Islamists, and then they bring it into the black conscious community as if it's some new thing, like they're doing it for the Pan-African cause. Okay. Let me show you something else. Show you something else so you know. Okay. So we're gonna get a little bit more into this so you know. All right. So right here, this is the same verse in question. I ain't trying to, some of y'all don't want to get into religion, but unfortunately he's bringing up an issue where something has to be clarified. So right here. Now this, you see that word al-Ghassani? Hold on, wait for it to clear. Al-Ghassani. Excuse me. Al-Ghassani. Now, this is a tribe called Ghassanids, and I'm going to show you. You see that word right there? Byzantine emperor and Caesar. So you got to understand, when Islam was spread in Arabia, the Romans had certain parts under, they had tributaries. They had the Ghassanid tribes right here, the Ghassani tribes, who were Arabs, but they were Roman Catholics. Okay. The Romans already had Roman Catholics there. So they didn't have to establish nothing with Muhammad or Islam. You see, because they was doing well. So the Prophet Muhammad's movement actually was saw by the Byzantine emperor and by the Romans as an opposition. So it says the Prophet, peace blessed be upon him, has sent Harith Umar Azdi, that's his name, on an errand to carry a letter to the ruler of Busra. Okay. On his way, he was intercepted by Sharabil, the son of Amr Ghassani, the governor of Balkha, and a close ally to Caesar, the Byzantine emperor. Al-Harith, the one that was carrying the prophet's letter, was tied and beheaded by the Ghassanids. Okay. So this is why the verse was revealed, fight against the Christians. It says this was the first act of Roman aggression that further led to the expedition of Tabuk, concerning which the verse 929 was revealed. These verses describes aggressors as those who do not believe in Allah on the last day because they committed this act of treachery. And it says that, it's going out real quick. Executing ambassadors. Hate when they do that. Executing ambassadors from other countries is a war crime that could never be committed by those who sincerely believe in Allah. Okay. So that's why that verse was revealed there. They have no faith, there is no faith for one who cannot be trusted. There is no deen or way of life. In this translation, it says religion, for one who cannot uphold a covenant. So, it was agreed upon even by the Byzantines that, ambassadors would not be hurt. So if they are people of faith, even if they're afraid of an opposition, they should uphold to their word, especially if they claim they're religious or spiritual. You have made a covenant of trust with people, regardless if you believe or don't believe in what that person has said or believe. Okay. Or you don't believe in nothing at all. You just about, what you see in front of your face. You still have an obligation to live up to your words though. So the Byzantine power, which was considered the greatest military force on earth at that time, showed an unjustifiable opposition towards Muslims. As we have already mentioned, their opposition started at killing the ambassador of the messenger of Allah, may peace and blessings be upon him. Okay. So this goes into the whole battle, how the Muslims came out, fought against the Caesar. Okay. The battle of Mu'tah. And then, of course, the Byzantines and the Greeks and the Caesars, they ruled Egypt. They ruled many parts of North Africa. So quite naturally, when the Muslims fought against them, all the provinces that were under authority fell under the Muslims. That's just natural, how that goes. So this is just it's just telling you the whole, the battle and how it took place and who fought who and, what verse came with what. And these verses usually are taken out of context by Protestants and Christians who want to prove that Islam just tells you to go and just attack anybody who don't believe what they believe. But clearly, as you see, the context is with, what the Romans was doing, the power of the time, fighting the way of Allah, those who fight you. But do not transgress. Verily, Allah loves not transgressors. Fight them until there is no more persecution, and worship is for Allah. But if they cease, I'm going to end on this one, on this verse. I'm not going to go into all the verses. But if they cease, then there is to be no aggression except against oppressors. If the enemy inclines to peace, then incline to it also, and rely upon Allah. Verily, it is He who is here and knowing. Okay. So now, quite naturally in history, we know about the Bach Treaty of the Nubians. Now, a lot of people don't know, and I think I'm going to do a separate video for this, but to in a short manner to tell you, you see, the Byzantines right here, the Makuria, Nubia was actually in league with Byzantine. This is how the Nubians got involved with Muslims fighting Nubians, because the Nubians at that time, as you see, the Byzantines was the power at that time. The Nubians had deals and trust with them. And many of the Makuria Nubian Christians, or they were siding with the Byzantines. So when the Muslims came out fighting the Byzantines, they also then turned towards the Nubians. So that's another thing I'm gonna bring up probably some other time, because there's a lot of half truths and lies and things being met out, or people had good intentions, but the problem was that they went to Christian missionary works of Protestants. And what they did was they took that, went to their source resources, but then didn't check a fuller story. So some of our Pan-African scholars, when they dig on the subject of Islam, well, the only place that you could really go is either to Islamic sources, or you can go to, Christian military missionary sources. And mostly, unfortunately, do go to white Christian missionary sources, like I just showed you. Okay. And then they go off of that and they add some other stuff and they throw some history in there, but you don't know the other stuff that happened in history that led up to it. So, I think that's about it. I mean, I didn't have to go long or nothing like that. I just need to go real quick, straight to the point. You know what I'm saying? Show you there's no way. There's no way. The Byzantines, the Romans, there's no way they created Islam at all. The doctrine is different. The Catholic Church believes in Trinity. They believe in the Mother Mary. And some of them say Mother Mary God now. They believe in the Trinity. Islam is completely against the Trinity. It says don't say Trinity. It says clearly, as you saw, don't say that He has a son, and all that. So no way that the Catholic Church created that. That's just ridiculous. It's illogical. And it's not factual. And it's based off of one guy, rumor, who was an anti-Catholic, and he wasn't a Pan-African. So bringing that into the and all these subjects, that they're doing, attacking Islam. Some of these brothers, I'm going to tell you straight up, they have a Freemasonic understanding of things. Okay. They want the black community to keep fighting over spirituality, religion. And here's the problem with that. If all of us is saying that we Pan-African, or all of us are saying we're for black nationalism on some type of level, you know what I'm saying? Then there's no way you should be talking to me about an Arab slave trade, because first and foremost, all of us over here came on those boats. We all the same people. You know what I'm saying? I ain't have nothing to do with no Arab slave trade. You ain't have nothing to do with no Arab slave trade. And if you go do a deeper research, you will find out that many Africans that came over here, they had all type of different spiritual and religious traditions. Some were Muslim, some were not Muslim, some were this and that. So when we got here to this land, we used whatever our faith was in order to fight against, the white power establishment. So really, this issue coming up amongst us and us fighting each other over and arguing over it all the time is stupid, and it's not doing nothing. It's not doing nothing at all, man. And when you start digging into it, and I'm going to dig some more, because I've been trying to hold off with going with this, but it seems that Seti, young Pharaoh, just want to push this. So, okay, let's get it cracking then. You know what I'm saying? And it's going to be just like this. Every time I come out, I'm going to go straight to the source and I'm going to show them, no, that's not factual. That's halfway. You giving it halfway, you're putting your own spin to it, but that's not factual how that happened. Okay, like the Allah and Allah thing, I'm going to expose that. Or the Serapis thing, I'm going to expose that too, because a Serapis is originally from Egypt. Okay, I'm not talking about the statue that is actually Zeus that was brung over there that got the name Serapis. I'm talking about the name Serapis itself. Asar, happy is how you say Serapis in the Kemetic tongue. Okay, Asar, happy. And that is Serapis. Happy, the black bull, would die. It symbolized spirituality, but he would die and spiritually resurrect into Asar, because Asar is, Lord of the underworld. You understand? Although some people say Ampu, but it becomes Asar is a symbol of resurrection. Okay. So that in itself is Serapis. And Serapis is not, for example, but they would know what Jesus is, but Isa, Yeshua, something like that. You got to understand there was different understandings of who Yeshua was, Yahweh. So in Islam, when we say Isa, we're not talking about Jesus of the Bible. We're not talking about that there's a dying and resurrection from the cross and raising up, because if you say it like that, then that's a perversion of, that type of understanding. But in Islam, we say what even some earlier factions said. We say Yeshua is simply a prophet. He is a prophet. He came to the people. He gave them warnings, told them, what will happen if they don't go by the warnings, and that was it. So when we espouse that type of understanding, you can't say that's Serapis, because Serapis comes with a certain type of understanding, and that is a death, crucifixion, and resurrection on a spiritual level. Okay. Like right now, if I say die to yourself, die in the love of your creator, what I'm saying is spiritually, you need to get rid of all impurities, and become somebody new. You need to resurrect yourself into your higher self, and lord over yourself. That's what I'm saying. So, but there was some that took that on a little level and may have created a type of interpretation of a Yeshua or a Jesus and said that he died on the cross and resurrected physically. I mean, hey, that's the Christian understanding. But in Islam, Yeshua to us is just a prophet. There ain't no dying and no resurrection and none of that. So you can't link that to Serapis understanding. You see? So we're saying that. Let me go to something else. Let me see real quick. Hold on a second. Let me go to this real quick. Is there something else I want to show you? So we saw who was supposed to get struck with the sword. I gave you the verse, that it came with it. I'm seeing if I find something else. Let me see something. Okay. But I showed you the Catholic monks, how they had the thing around their head. Okay, well, let me do this. Okay, Theodore, Bishop Theodore, he's a Roman Catholic in the early centuries. This is what he wrote against the heresies of Islam. Okay, because if this early bishop is against Islam, and I just showed you the wars that happened clearly, and the evidence is in the world because we took over the domes. Okay. And made them into worship places. So that's just evidence in itself. Okay. But Bishop Theodore wrote against heresy Islam. He said, and because the Lord had promised Peter, the chief of the apostolic choir, that he would lay the church's foundations on the unshaken rock of his confession, the church that she would overcome the gates of hell. So opponents of God up to present struggles against the church. I am speaking of the most blessed and most philosophical bishop of Haran in Chios, Syria. Theodore and his writers, which were truly inspired by God, he worthily held up to public scorn the impious religion of the Agarenes, i.e. Muslims, and showed to all that it was worthy of complete derision. Okay. So clearly the Catholic Church was against Islam. Anything that goes against them saying that, you should, worship Mary. And I'll get you that. Matter of fact, let me go ahead and get you that one verse, and then I'm going to end that. And that'll be the last verse I give y'all. Hold on. So I'm going to go to a common verse that Muslims say, so you'll know and understand there's no way the Roman Catholic Church or any Christian or any group in the world who said that they God or they deity or they anthropomorphism has some type of son or let's see. Hold on for a second. Son or mother or daughter or any of that. So, 12. So I'm going to send you to him. All right. So this is called al-ikhlas. This means sincerity. Okay. Say. This is Muslims being told to say this. He is Allah. And actually the Arabic word right there is huwa. Okay. It's not he. So really Allah is not a man or a he, but huwa actually means the who. That means halul, which means not to incarnate, not to go down into something. Okay. And the wa is referring to a thing that is not seen. It's unseen. That is because pagans or idol worshippers or whatever you want to call it, or anthropomorphists, they like to see their gods. So they like to point at it and say that that's the one I see. So show me yours that you see. So we say, nah, huwa is Allah, meaning the unseen one who does not incarnate. Okay. And it says is one. Allah, the eternal refuge. He says he neither begets nor is born. So this Allah don't have no sons, don't have no daughters, don't have no, none of that. And you don't have no daughters, you ain't got no sons. Then that means quite naturally you ain't got no wife. Okay. You ain't got no wife. And this Allah right here is never born. It's nothing had it. It's always been. Okay. So he neither begets nor is born. Nor is there to him any equivalent. So equivalent is that you can't be my son. You can't be my daughter, because if you was, then you would, at least you would have something of me, or you could become an equivalent on some type of level. So clearly that type of understanding is clearly against the majority of spiritualities in the world. Think about it. And the last thing I end on is, how did people, at least the churches, how did they start saying God the Father? Was this. There's a word called alif. The symbol of that is a straight line. Okay. And that symbolizes, the head of something. Some people in ancient times, the pictographs would make a bull, which means the head of something, the power of something. And then ba, which is bait, which meant a tent or a house. So it meant the head of the house or the head of the tent. Now that's general. It could be a man. It could be a woman. It could be both in the duality, the head of the house, the head of the tent. But that's what it just meant. Then later on, people, some cultures, the father became the head of the house, the head of the tent. So when the happening was, they start calling up on the creator, our father. They start calling him Abba. So they start calling him the father, and pretty soon he just got stuck. And then, Abba meant just father. Abu just meant father. But in actuality, originally it meant head of the house. So that's why in Islam it came, with the Quran, it came to purify certain concepts, that a lot of the ancients said, came to purify it back. And I'll give you a proof, and then I'm going to end this. Remember that in the ancient times, hold on, I think I'm done. My presence over there. So I'm like, remember in ancient times and a lot of cultures, they would, anthropomorphize concepts and ideas, you know. So, for example, when you would say, well, let's use this, a sara. We'll just use the Egyptian one, or El. Let's use that. Okay, that was a concept. That was a concept actually. Originally, it was a principle. Okay, a sara meant to rise, to resurrect, to be born anew. Okay, and El meant to have power, to have authority. Right. As time went on, people anthropomorphized those concepts. So they made it into a physical being, a man, a woman. So they came with the concept of duality, man and woman. And in some of those dualities, they placed the woman first, right? They placed the woman first, okay? Because they said, okay, this is the womb. So that symbolizes the life coming out the womb. So they put the woman first. But this is through anthropomorphization of a concept, though. You see? So the woman or the man or woman, depending on what culture it was. Okay. Some then moved on to symbolize it in the form of an animal. Okay. That symbolized strength or authority or power. Right. So as time went on, anthropomorphization went on. Everything became anthropomorphized. Every concept. Every lesson became anthropomorphized. And eventually came a period where people actually started losing the knowledge. Because even if you go to, for example, in ancient Kemet, Asra Kwesi has one on this, where he says that the hieroglyphs or the metaneta, he says that level of teaching was actually for the illiterate. It wasn't for the studious. That was for the illiterate. That was for the people who could not read the Demotic script or the heretic script, if that's what you want to call it. They couldn't read that. You see? So they had to have the pictorials. And the priests had to teach them. Right? So, but by that time, things had become so anthropomorphized. You know, every concept was made into the form of a man. Every concept was made into the form of a woman. Every concept was made into the form of an animal. And then some people became so illiterate that they actually began to worship those things. They started bowing down, praying, invoking those things. So a lot of people, because of there's a lot of Pan-African scholars who were Christians. And this is just a fact. All of us at one point in time may have been Christian or whatever. Okay, coming out of that, but they took some things. They took, like against Islam, they took some things. And when they research it, it's just Christian works. And then any references that are given that come from Islam, it's usually from a Christian, reference. So they just go to look just for that. I'm going to just look for that. Or I'm going to just disprove that. You see? And so, but my point is this. We must remember one thing, that Arabia, so-called Arabia, was Cush. Whether you accept the Shem or Shem or not, there was a Shemite language. Look at the Ge'ez language. It's an ancient language. The Habasha, they speak Ge'ez. It's a Semitic tongue. Okay? It's an African tongue. We got to get off this crazy stuff, man. Trying to be like Europeans dividing Africa from Asia. See, that's a European concept. There's an Africa and then there's an Asia. You go to some of the tribes, they don't know what you're talking about. Originally from the oral traditions, they don't know what you're talking about. There's no such thing as a division African Asia. It's just wherever my tribe was at, that's the land that I dwelled on, and that was my land. Wherever my land was at, and I dwelled on that area was my land. It had my tribes or my families or my nation's name on it. And if you came in there messing with me, I'm going to give you the business. Okay? So in Cush, what we call Arabia today, was Cush. Now we know that Cush is before Kemet. So people, what they fail to realize, the knowledge that Kemet had, at least from the Cushites, because there was different groups inside ancient Egypt. You had the Cushites, you had the Puntites, you had what you want to call Bantu now, you had all these different groups that brought different cultures in there and mixed it. But in Arabia, a lot of the Cushites migrated to Arabia, and that science and that knowledge was carried down through oral tradition. A lot of people don't know that. I mean, they know, but they don't connect the dots. And so for some odd reason, all of a sudden they think they just disappeared one day, or they got just pushed away somewhere else only. But that's a fallacy. Muhammad was one of those descendants. And what you got to understand, there was an Abjad letter system. The Abjad letter system tells you the teachings of the ancient tribes. And then from the Abjad letter systems, dialects or languages are created. The Abjad system is the letter, or you would nowadays, I guess, if you keep tracing it back, it'll go to a pictorial. The image of a bull, when it became the anthropomorphized aspect, meant the head or the power. But before that, it was a stick figure. See, like a cane, and so that meant power or leadership, because the priests carry the stick. Some people call it a shechem. They carry the stick. Okay. So those symbols was passed down, and then they became letters, and then language developed from that. And only a person who got in depth into the language and went back to the roots and went back to the letters will start to understand the original ancient symbols. So that's why you could take those symbols and go, if there's a connecting language to that, and you can actually read those symbols if you get in depth in that. My point is this. When the Quran came to Muhammad, and I'm going to say this, there was groups. You had mushrik tribes, you had pagan tribes, people that were stuck on anthropomorphization. They believed gods and goddesses. They had that system. There was people that worshiped the wood and stone because they knew that there were certain energies in these stones. So they worshiped and actually invoked these stones because energy comes out the mouth and energy comes from the stone. See? So with these different understandings, ideology, all of them were steeped in anthropomorphization. Then you had certain Catholics and you had certain Jews. So when the Quran came down, it had to speak to them according to each group. And this is where when I talk to Christians or I talk to other people, I say, listen, you say, oh, they're plagiarizing. I said, no, you got to look at the word Quran means to recite. Okay. It's a recital. So that means I'm standing up in public and I'm telling you the message. Okay. I'm talking to you. That's like me talking to you right now. Okay. And every word that I say to you, somebody write it down. And I'm talking about Christianity, or I'm talking about some stories that may be narrated among Christianity, or I'm talking about some stories that may be narrated among the Old Testament, or I'm talking about stories that may be narrated from ancient Egypt. And I'm talking about some stories that's narrated from ancient Kush. And I'm giving you my moral example and my moral breakdown based on these stories so that you can get the point that I'm making about that there's only one creator and that not to be an anthropomorphist. See, not to worship this idol, not to think that the energies in the heavens and earth are feminine and masculine in an anthropomorphic way. It's not literal. And even before that, the creator who exists is even beyond that. Because our brains are minute. So when I'm coming with this message, I'm going to reach you through the tradition or certain traditions that you are on. And now if a person write that down and then got a book, you can't say that I plagiarized. No, I had a mission. I spoke to you, this group and that group. I quoted certain moral examples so that you can understand what I'm trying to say through those moral examples. It was written down and boom, we're going to have people read it. If they think it's logical, go by and believe it. Become a believer. If you don't think it's logical, leave it alone. But don't start hostilities. Don't start. And that's what a lot of them were doing. The Romans started hostilities. They couldn't handle that tide raising up. Okay. The idol worshippers of Mecca, they started hostilities. They couldn't handle that tide raising up. So Muslims were ordered to fight. And anybody else that was connected to them who were helping them, fight them too. Until you're able to establish your Islam. Until you're able to practice your Islam and not be persecuted. And the way of Allah is manifest, meaning clear. So no one could stop you from practicing. Now, here's what I will say. The little punk, little, sucker white Arabs. Okay. Greeks and Turks and Ottoman Turks and, other type of people that came in later on. Okay. Who were really Mawali, who were really, first when they came in were servant clients. Okay. And some of them slowly climbed up the ranks. But really they took advantage of when the Muslims were fighting other, who was trying to stop the rising tide of Islam. They took the back gate and they eventually became the ones in charge and in power. Okay. They put a lot, they wasn't just, Africans they put in slavery. A lot of the black Africans that were Muslims, they put into slavery first. When I say African, I mean the Kushite / Sabian, Saba, Muslims who had first actually came out in Islam. You see, but some of them traditions remain. So, it's a whole lot of misunderstanding and half teaching and going on in the black, if you want to call it conscious community, or you want to call it Pan-African community, whatever you want to call it. But here's the fact of the matter. When our people got here to America or wherever they went to, whatever tradition they was on, okay, they saw that they understood that in a revolutionary black nationalist sense. Okay. And they fought against the oppressors that be. So for us to bicker between Islam or you follow the Kemetic system and you're not really black conscious, you're not really revolutionary. All that right there is FBI, COINTEL, and Freemasonic ways so that we will never unite. You'll never get nothing finished like that. Look at the rest of the world around you. Have they solved the problem of having different spiritualities and beliefs? No. You think you're going to get everybody on one way of understanding? Hell no. So that's a waste of time. And it's stalling for a real revolution, man. And I really didn't want to do this. I'm focused on exposing odiness. My thing, I got some stuff. I'm exposing odiness. White supremacist groups, different white supremacist groups put certain things, trying to reorganize the stuff and put some stuff on the list now. I done lost some stuff, so I haven't told nobody that, but I lost some stuff. So, there were some things that occurred, and so it's pushed a lot of stuff backwards. But so that's what I'm focused on. So, but now I have to take time off of this because this keeps on raising up, so I guess that's what I got to focus on too now, because I'm not letting nobody disrespect my spirituality. You see what I'm saying? Constantly, I turn around constantly and then link me with an Arab slave trade. But I'm over here with you. You know what I'm saying? I was in the damn slavery boat. I'm the same people as you. So we cannot, all this constant bickering with each other is ridiculous, man. It's ridiculous. You ain't had nothing to do, I ain't have nothing to do with it, man. We over here. And whatever we have, we used. Now supposedly meta had never been deciphered. So, I don't think a person comprehends when they say that. You can't argue with me over no Serapis. Because it's a combination of two Kemetic words. You can't argue with me over nothing concerning Kush, Kemet, Nubia, Aksum, Habash, Tigrinya, nothing. Because to you, no vowels have been translated. No consonants have been translated. And vowels and consonants make up stories. Make up narrations. So it's a game being played, man. You're switching on and off. You stay one way. If it hadn't been deciphered, then shut up. Go sit down somewhere. Go find something else to do. Something else to make a hustle out. But if it has been translated, then continue to talk. Teach, I guess, So subhanAllah, that's all I got, I really got to say about that. My next one will be on Serapis. I'll probably do that tomorrow or the next day after, inshallah, but I'm going to tell you my position real quick before I get off of here. So you understand what my position is as a Muslim. First of all, to me and what I've studied, and I can prove it and back it up, have done it, to, what you call white Arabs, have done it to whoever. And I got it and I let it loose. Islam to me is an action because that's what it is. It means submission. It's an act of obeying your creator. That's it. Okay. That's it. It's not a religion. It's the act of obeying your creator. Inside the Quran. It calls it a millat, which means you have rights. And it's called deen, which means way of life. So the word religion is an English word. Islam never called itself religion. That's another thing that Pan-Africans have gotten from Western European circles about Islam. What's a religion? Because Christianity is a religion. Judaism is a religion. Well, you got to realize something. Islam is the word means submission. Judaism is named after Judah, a person. Christianity is named after a person, Christ. See? So one is an act. The other one is named off the individual or the personage. The Khalifa verse, it talks about the Khalifa in the Quran, where it talks about the first people being established as black. So to me, and when I read it, that's telling me that black people are supposed to be the Khalifa of the earth. It's black people that's supposed to rule the earth. Everybody else who's here, their test is to allow that. See, because it's a matter of arrogance or egotism to see if they're humble. You see, that's part of their test. Our test as rulers and just people is to be just and not to oppress other people with the authority or power that we've been given by the Creator. And we both will be held accountable if we don't go by that. You see, that's my understanding. And from what I read literally from the Quran, I'll do some on that one day. And that one I will be reciting the Kalam Arabiya, because some people's like, oh, you got to recite the Arabic. Not that I care about what they talk about, what they're talking about. I don't have to recite nothing. I don't have to say it. I go to the root word and break it down and that's it. I ain't got to recite it like that. Okay. And I prefer that way anyway, because it gets to the root of the issue. But that was basically the original concept in Islam. And then when the Turks and the Romans came in, when they started reading those verses, black mud molded into shape, hama masnoon, kalakna hama masnoon. When they started reading that, they skipped over hama'a, which means black. So they said, oh, mankind has been created from clay. And he was made caliph of the earth. He was made the leader, ruler, and vicegerent of the earth. See? But when I went back and I read it literally for what it said, I said, oh, it's saying black people are the caliph of the earth. Black people are nas. And that goes with history too. See? So the original Islam, no, we didn't believe that man is a god. Man is a goddess. We believe that the black man and the black woman are queens and, if you want to say the caliph, are queens and kings, or responsible to rule this earth and to be just. And if you go into, one day I'm gonna come out with this. When you go into the Oromo tradition, which are Cushites, okay? So you go into the Oromo Cushite tradition, you'll find that they talk about they ruled for a long time and they had a book. They had a book. And in this book, they had these certain sacred rules. And when they went by these rules, they had authority and power of the earth. But when they ruled so long, they lost the authority. They forgot. And so other people started taking precedence, taking over. Another thing in ancient times we had a problem with is the darker and a lot of people don't know this, but the Humra are the red skinned black folks, and the Aswad are dark black folks. They fell out and they started waging war in between the two, even before the European came. And some will say, you're not a child of the sun. La Shamsi, you know what I'm saying? La Shamsi, Walad. No, child of the sun. No boy of the sun. Okay. And so those who were, jet black, Aswad, you know, they saw themselves as closer to the sun. Whereas those who were like our complexion, my complexion, you know, they said these ones are not as closer to the sun. So there was an argument and bickering between who should be, with using the Arabic word, Khalifa or the king of the earth. So there was bickering. See, that began with us. We got to take responsibility for that. That began with us. And then when we became divided, when we became, our power departed, our weakness departed. And then that's how the beast, or, you know what I'm saying, these other nations came in and took power of the world. And this is our test, is in getting back that authority and that power, but being the right type of people that we supposed to be. So to let you know, yeah, I go by Quran. Yeah, I go by traditions, but you got to understand, when I read the Quran, I see different than a lot of people. So I'm not no, you know, people, oh, you're an Arab. They fail to comprehend deeply. And I could support it through, or there ain't no such thing as an Orthodox Islam. We can go into the history of that. There's no such thing. That's again, another European terminology. There is no Orthodox Islam. Okay. You know, the history of Islam, how it unfolded. There's just an Islam, and it has various understandings, levels of understandings and interpretations. Okay. So with saying that, I'm gonna go ahead and say Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi. Oh, let me finish. So that's my position. So no, you will never catch me saying I'm a god. That's an English word. If you go look up the word God, that was Odin. That God comes from the word God. Later on it meant a drum. Okay. Drum for war or drum for libation. But if you trace it back, God comes from God, but the correct pronunciation is a Germanic word. So it's Wad or Woden. And then they shorten it to Odin. Okay. So the black man and black woman call themselves God or goddess. I would never call myself Odin. You see, we have, I could do stuff like that all day too. You see what I'm saying? Stuck on I could do it too. You know what I'm saying? So, but I wouldn't call myself that. So the Quran never calls us gods and goddesses. You know, we are the Khalifa, the divinely created Khalifa. We was created as the Khulafa of the earth. And so the Quran was revealed to correct. A lot of people don't understand. They don't understand. The Quran was revealed to correct concepts, whether you be any type of anthropomorphic concept, any type of idol concept. You see, because originally there was no anthropomorphism. Our ancestors, they thought it would be best that they use anthropomorphic explanations. And then illiterates eventually came in and ruined the whole thing. They just turned to worshiping rocks and stuff. All type of stuff. And no, Islam don't worship on rock. I heard people say that, but they got to look up the different cultures that use sacred stones. Some sacred stones just mark the area where you pray at. You know what I'm saying? And on that spot was a covenant between you and that creator. So whenever you remember, when you remember that, when you see that specific type of stone, some cultures, they did worship a stone. They would literally invoke the stone and the energy in the stone and believe that, the energy gets them to the higher energies and stuff like that. So you got to look at the tradition first before you look at the outside appearance. So, that's what the Quran was about, correction. And that's why it mentions the Thamud people. It don't just mention Jews and Christian concept. It talks about the Thamud people. Everybody know those are Cushites. The Ad people, those are the tall, Cushites. Some of them were destroyed. Some of them survived. See, and we got to get off of that. All of our people at all point in times, not everybody was just 100% abiding by what the Creator gave us when we wasn't. And we got to get off that fantasy. People are people. You know what I'm saying? People are people. You know? So, you can see it in ancient history when you start narrating the queens of Sheba, Saba. See, that's the lineage that really, it's a mix. The queens of Saba, the original story is the queens of Saba, with or without a Solomon, whether you believe that or not. Okay. Muhammad is a descendant of them. He's a Sabian Cushite, but we got to remember the original Israelites. I mean, that's a whole different subject. Talking about Hebrew and stuff like that, you know, Eber and things of that nature, you know. I say that was a person. Eber is a person. Cause you got to remember, supposedly, well, Shem is the father. We'll just go there real quick. And then, you know, in Noah, you have a Noah or Nu. That's another thing I'm going to address. I'm glad I kept talking because that's another thing I want to address. Astrological, astronomical, and things on literally that going on this earth. This is a misunderstanding we got too. See, a story, a narration, even among some ancient traditions, has 3 levels to it. Not one. And people nowadays, how we get into it, because we're influenced by, some of us are influenced by Freemasons. Okay. And they've been in Africa too. And they've done mess with traditional African tribes too. You see that one lady being carried by the traditional African tribes, right? She's a white lady being carried by one of them, by that whole group. So they've been all throughout there. You know what I'm saying? So listen, 3 levels is what stories are on. You have an astronomical or astrological aspect of it. You have a historical aspect of it, a metaphorical aspect of it, and a literal aspect of it. But nowadays, what we're trying to be taught is that there's only an astrological, and get rid of the literal aspect of it because I can't find a grave. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. Because here's the thing. How many of y'all believe that Genghis Khan, excuse me, how many of y'all believe or know that Genghis Khan existed? Known person. Did a whole lot of carnage on this earth. Many, you know, cultures have been impacted by him. And many people speak about him, though he's dead. It wasn't that long ago, but guess what? Try to go find his grave. He don't got a grave. Genghis Khan don't got a grave. Go look it up. You can't find a Genghis Khan. So now, let me ask you something. You think he's made up? You got to understand something about nomadic tribes and the culture of nomadics. And all black cultures, all African cultures, or whatever you want to call it, was not only city dwellers. Okay. Some of us were nomads. We just love the freedom to travel and keep going and keep going and keep going. Settle down where we want to settle down at, when we want to settle down, and pack it up and keep on moving. You know what I'm saying? Keep on moving and moving. That's just what we like to do. You know, we don't like to just sit and still in just a city and just build. We leave that for them and keep moving. You know, black folks, you know, we're different. You know, we have different ways sometimes, you know. But here's the thing. When you become a prominent person, even in those type of societies, and you've caused certain type of effects in those societies, when you get buried, you don't want people digging your grave up. So only close family members get to know where you buried at. That's it. Not even the whole tribe. Certain family members, your closest of clan, your closest of bloodline, get to know where you're buried at. Because in some of these clans and tribes, they believe that the one who is closest to you by blood is close to you by spirit. And that when they die, they will, or when they transition on another life to another world, they will actually go with their ancestor. So they don't want their grave, their body disturbed, especially if they're a person that had great effect in the world. You see? So you not finding a body is nothing to be like, oh, you know, the body don't exist. Because the body ain't there, it don't exist. And because there's an astrological story to it, it don't exist. That's ridiculous. That in itself is illogical. So you're saying just because this only is there and this is not, I can't find this, then it didn't happen. You see, it didn't happen. You staking a claim on a lot there. Staking a claim on a lot there. But hey, so I'm gonna end with this. Like I was saying, Noah had a son, Shem, Ham, Japheth. Supposedly, it's said like this, right? Listen, Japheth or Japheth, Shem, Ham would speak the same language as their daddy, as their mama. See what I'm saying? So Shem, the Shemitic language, would be the language of Noah. The Hamitic language would be the language of Noah. The Japhetic language would be the language of Noah. Now, that don't mean that they won't break off into different dialects. But you can't say that there's a Shemitic language. There's a Hamitic language. There's a Japhetic language. No. There's a Noetic language. But that language broke off into different dialects depending on where people migrated to. And went through certain things in life that developed language. Well, I just got in not too long ago, so, and then I had to hop on this real quick because I said I was going to do a video today. So I just wanted to, run that by you real quick. Inshallah, you got some beneficial, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Black Power, and, free the land, man. And one day, inshallah, we'll be, united so that we can truly, show our oppressors what time it is and not get caught up in this game, because there's a whole lot of agents among us. They can sound nice. They can talk nice. They can talk a good game, or they can even do a few good things for the community, but be very divisive. As long as you divisive, we never gonna make this, man. Cause our people don't lay down. Our people don't lay down, man. We don't lay down. So he gonna go this way, then he gonna go this way, and he gonna come back, and he gonna come, and that's what they banking on. And that's part of us being Khalifa, the test. Us be united, not divided, and reclaiming our ascendancy and throne. That's the test that's how we fail. The division. So we have to learn that, yeah, we can have differences, but there's different levels to the differences, and the test is to tolerate it and to try our best to, as long as they don't go by straight to some certain moral codes that mess us all up. But all right then, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Black Power, and y'all have a good night. Indeed.